Okay, thank you for joining me in the Cooper's booth. Today we're going to be discussing invisible errors, solutions, and harnessing the RI witness to make the IVF safer. So my conflicts of interest, I am the founder, CEO, and embryologist at Avenues. Avenues is the first clinic in the world to use AI-driven solutions throughout the process. And we'll be discussing how the RI witness is critical in ensuring that we have that right data flow throughout. So we're all familiar with this situation. There's not enough embryologists in the world to treat all of the patients that need IVF. The consequence of this is that we're burning out, we're stressed, and many of us are quitting our profession because we're just not coping. So we need technologies to help us reach that capacity so that every other patient on the other side who wants to become a parent can. So how do we make ourselves more efficient, and which technologies can support us? We know from Adikani's paper that the complexity of what we're doing is increasing over time. What used to take us 9 hours now takes us 20 hours. We're doing more biopsy, more vitrification, more ICSIs, more micromanipulation, but we're human. We need to be able to work and have a private life afterwards, and this means that we need technologies to help us achieve that. How many embryologists do you need per cycle? How many cycles do you need per embryologist? And the British Society has determined that's between 80 and 100. This is not taking account using technologies to achieve a much, much higher number of capacity per embryologist. So we're still seeing clinics today that are not using technologies such as RI Witness. We're still seeing clinics out there who are paper-based, who are not using time-lapse, who are not using technologies that are going to be able to improve the efficiency in the lab. So before, if you're not using any of these technologies, you're going to find yourself spending 70% of your time as an embryologist doing administration. I don't know about you, but I did not become an embryologist to do paperwork and bureaucracy. It's my least happy time of the day. So I have dedicated the last 10 years of my life to find solutions to eliminate bureaucracy. So how do we make things more efficient? How we improve staffing levels? And how do we reduce burnout? That's what we're trying to achieve today. Rule number 1, develop a severe case of paper phobia. Okay, if you have any piece of paper in your workflow, please work towards eliminating it, burning it, and moving to today's time of digitization. Okay, so how do we get rid of that paper? The second thing you need to think of is your workflow of what's happening with the data that you're capturing. The fact that you're putting things on a piece of paper, then scanning it and putting it in the EMR as a PDF is not digitization. You need to think, what is the source of information, what is the source of data, and capture that data from the source. Then you need to think of one location for each data. Having good data hygiene will help you have better visibility of your information, but also will save you precious time. Then you need to figure out how you get rid of PDFs. PDF is not digitization. And you need to figure out how you're validating data points that are being captured, and as best as possible use technology to capture the data so that the humans can focus on embryos, on sperm, on patients. So we worked through looking at the different stages of how we go from raw data, where machines are recapturing, to turning data to information, to then turning information to decision. And we need to see more solutions that are helping us reach that stage. How did we do it in our clinic? We used a whole range of technologies. We incorporated a communication between them and made sure that no human was capturing data where a machine could have done that instead. So very complex workflow, as you all know. The sheer amount of data that we need to capture just to stay regulatory compliant is a lot of work. But I'm not just interested in being regulatory compliant. I'm interested in capturing information that will give us live KPIs, as we're going to see in the next talk. I'm interested in creating a level of business and operational intelligence that we can learn from and fix things on a daily basis. We practice something called Kaizen. Anybody know what Kaizen is? Continuous improvement. You can't improve what you can't measure. And to measure things, you need to capture the data. So one of the ways that we're capturing this data is this new microscope that we're using that was provided by Coopers. And this allows us to have everything digitized during the ICSI process itself. It means that you're not using your hands to move your objectives, you're capturing the data, what objective you're using at what time. You're getting a level of detail of data capture that we couldn't before. All because of the automation of certain aspects of the actual microscope itself. But not just that, this has helped us save time during ICSI, time that now gets contributed back to more patients being able to be treated. Then you have the RI witness. How does it work? Well, firstly, you have these stickers that you put on every single dish that you use. Every dish, every tube, everything that a sperm, egg, or embryo is going to touch is going to be tagged. This means that you're now automatically recognizing this dish every time it goes on one of these workstations that has the white RFID reader. You don't have to tell it that an egg collection dish has come onto the workstation. It knows it because during dish preparation, you put all the stickers on all the dishes. Then you have the sperm prep. It has a similar RFID reader, but specifically designed for looking at your tubes. On the ICSI rig itself, we have this little reader on the side here, and that allows you to capture now the videos automatically as well. So every time you do a biopsy, every time you do an ICSI, you should be recording it and you should be saving it in a way that you can track back. Why did these ICSIs lead to degeneration? Why did these biopsies not survive a worm? How can we learn from this? Kaizen, continuous improvement. We have to be capturing this information all the way through. So we all know that the complexities of the workflow make spider webs like this. So the first thing that you do when you receive the RI witness is that you're going to build your own workflow. So the fact that you can adapt the workflow to what your clinic specifically does. We all do things a little bit differently in terms of do the denudation and then you do the ICSI as a one process like we do in our clinic, or are they two separate processes? What is it how many tubes are you going to be using? What dishes are the ingredients for that process to happen? And this functionality allows you to customize to your needs, not just your needs today, but as you evolve and as you start introducing more workflows, as new technologies become available, you have that malleability to be able to modify. But in here, we're also designing what data is going to be captured and at what stage of the process. It also means that when your team is going through the process, they have to follow that process, which means that this reduces the risk of steps not being forgotten. So there's a whole data structure behind the scenes, and we have, so for instance, for the semen analysis, at no point does an embryologist need to leave the workstation to go to a computer to input information. Those of you who are using electronic medical records, what you're doing is you're capturing the data after it happened. You did an egg collection, you go over and you record, yes, Cristina did the egg collection. I think it was like, I don't know, let's make it from 9 to 9:15, right? And then you start putting, I think she did it with John, the doctor. Let's just put John for now, right? So this retrospective data capture means inaccuracies. Okay, so it's not only about wasting your time, it's about ensuring that critical data points are not being missed all the way through. Because this needs to be accurate so your KPIs later on are accurate so that you can identify rooms for improvement. And there's a whole bunch of data that can be captured today from the get-go. This is a subset of the data points that we collect that goes straight into our our data system. So everything from the patient's name and the date of birth and the date and time that it happened, the witnessing, who witnessed your process is captured automatically. The fact which consumables were used, each batch of each consumable for each patient, what were the procedures type, what dates did those types happen, what were the practitioners involved. All of that is captured automatically in our system, and at no point do we have to input that information as humans. We need to create a culture where we understand data hygiene. Structured data is essential to allow us to build the correct business intelligence, a correct operational intelligence. So we need to be applying not just digitization because it's in a computer, but in a structured manner that allows us to learn from and monitor. So when we're doing those videos and pictures, I don't have to put it into that patient. It automatically goes to the patient's library. Each patient has their own library of images and videos that are being captured. And you're able to generate some reports as well. We don't use the reports anymore, but the ability to have that as an option to generate for when you want to print a report, it's there and it's easy for you to use. But it's also capturing things like how many tags have you used, how many, and I know Bess is going to discuss that in a bit more detail, so that you're not just looking in terms of success rates, you're looking at waste. Is there waste in your process? Because waste will cost, and cost means your patients are paying more than they need to be paying for their treatments. So this is what it looks like. So this is Maddie, one of our embryologists, okay, and she's going to be, I think it's an egg collection. This is post-egg collection. She's now getting, after she washed the eggs, and off she goes. Oops, it's just, and she's at the workstation already telling it how many eggs were collected. It's recognized what were the dishes that were there. All of those data points that I showed you before has been collected. She does not need to go to another computer to record everything. She certainly should not be taking a piece of paper to write on what has happened. That's it. One tap. 8 eggs collected. That's all she had to do. So here's an ICSI. We just take the patient's card, we put it on the reader. Sorry, that was tagging what is the practitioner doing. You put it on the reader and there you go. Every video now is going to go straight to the patient. You just got to click on the side here so that you can start and stop each of your videos. Super easy to do. And it means that you can now have data specific for the eggs that are being injected. So it's really finding that balance of time versus the amount of data collected. Think of all the time that you're spending putting that data in, but think of all the other data points that are possible to extract from the witness itself. Anything from how long have the dishes been out on the workstation, how long have your dishes been outside of the incubator. These will help you troubleshoot improvements in the process. You also have an ability to, if you use so we use the Tomorrow system, and the barcode that comes from Tomorrow is readable inside the RI Witness. So this ability to use in between different technologies means that I now can track what's happening at the workstation using barcodes that are in our straws. So we definitely are not going to be doing this, which is writing by hand. This day and age, we should not be writing on straws by hand. Then you have the reports of when things, from report data to increasing success rates, we need to look at the information collected by the system because we use this to improve our SOPs. So one of the things that we're looking at is a log of mismatches. When have we brought into close proximity sperm, eggs, and embryos from patients that were not together? And why did that happen? So that we can learn. So these are near misses. They're not quite incidents, but it allows us to learn from them so that you don't have to experience an actual incident. These are the types of incidents that can destroy a clinic. And we have the technologies to make sure that they are never events. So ensuring that the correct data is collected all the way through, reducing the needs for us to do internal audits manually. So Those of you who are into quality management, you will know the amount of time it takes to perform audits. But here with this technology, we can automate many aspects, not just from an operational perspective, but from an auditing perspective as well. So this is what the mismatch kind of looks like. Everything goes red so that it doesn't allow you to mix up sperm, eggs, and embryos from different patients. It keeps that traceability intact all the way through. So we actually did a study that we presented, that we published in Reproductive Biomedicine Online. I encourage you to have a look at it. And effectively what we concluded is that we've gone from 209 manual data entries to only 18. That's a lot of manual data entry that you should not be doing, and I encourage you all to go back home and every time you're doing a manual data entry, count and see how far you get, and think, could a machine have captured this? Could our eyewitness have captured this? Then we have the work for the systematic time and motion analysis of where do embryologists' time go. This is something you should do with every department in your team. This is ours. So our embryologists are able to treat about 500 patients each, dedicating around 2.9 hours as opposed to 20 hours per cycle, because we are allocating technologies to take away from the entire administrative process. If you think of biopsy, if you think of vitrification, those are particular stages that carry a lot of bureaucracy, which we can now automate, partly because of the eyewitness system. So these are the KPIs that we have achieved. 500 cycles per doctor, 500 per embryologist, 256 per nurse. This ability to keep track of where your time is going, so that you know what you're able to generate in your clinic, and you're able to then reduce the overtime. You preempt what's going on, what's coming in terms of patient load, so that your staff doesn't need to go through burnout. I've been through burnout. I've worked the 12-hour week, 12-hour days, 6 days a week. We don't want this for the next generation of embryologists, and technologies like this can help us reach that. So what we're doing is changing, and our role as an embryologist is changing over time. What we had in the past is a lot of administration. What we have today is no administration and a lot of artisanal work. I love doing ICSIs, I love stripping, I love egg collecting, I love preparing sperm, and that's where the significant proportion of my time is going. And the rest is going to data interpretation and patient contact. So 39% of my time as an embryologist goes to speaking with patients. And in the future, when we get to robotics, the artisanal work will eventually disappear, and the time will go into data interpretation. You need to be thinking of what technologies is bringing you that data, and our eyewitness is one of these technologies. So don't be afraid of digitalization, AI, or robotics. They're here to stay, whether we like it or not. It's actually your friend. It's here to support you, and it's not going to take your job. It's going to take your job to the next level. So thank you very much for your time.